you're spending almost 18 emeralds on rotten flesh alone on a monthly basis. Right, so let me get these two ready. What is this? Forgive me for that. Why don't we take a break, cool down a little bit? Get the cheese. In a year, that, it completely decreases your annual return. Obviously, your annual return could come back. We assumed that you would be doing 10 to 5 projects. We're glad you made it to the Golden Apple Company Bank. We understand that you're here for your appointment for your financial audit to kind of review your finances, as well as to see whether or not you have the means to build the Enderman XP farm. On our end, we are asking to know why you picked an Enderman XP farm over any regular mob spawner. Lately, there's been an uptick in Enderman XP farms and our financing of those farms, so we're just wondering why, so that we can have the information for us. So I am your Villager Financial Auditor. I have been working in the emerald auditing field for at least 17 years. It's kind of been my business, and I am an upper officer here at the Golden Apple Company. I have the intention today to review your finances and ensure that you're walking away happy. So we're going to go through the 3 documents that I have for you, which is an expense report, as well as a cost report, and then some returns that you've been making from emerald use. Obviously, this did take some time, so I hope that the documents are to your expectations, and I would love to know your opinion on whether or not these documents met your expectations, as well as if there's any unreasonable expenses, maybe something you weren't expecting. You can always let me know now or leave a message on our company board outside. There are a little unusual things happening in your expenses in terms of items you're spending emeralds on that we don't think you should be, as well as somehow that generating a return. So we're a little confused on that part, but I'm sure we'll work it out. Why don't we get to it? Alright, so first I'm just going to get rid of these. I carry these gems with me, they're always lucky. We have 1, 2 amethysts, 1 lapis, 2 diamonds, and of course, actually 3 diamonds, apologies, and 1 emerald. This is what we're working with today, but 3 diamonds, 1 lapis, 2 amethyst, and 1 singular emerald. Let's get these out of the way, and then we'll get to your files. Alright, so trying to get these out here. Here we are. Perfect. Let's get this out of the way, shall we? Alright, so here we are. We have our files here. This should be all of them, I think. Yes, I believe so. Perfect. So, we'll start with the expense report, and I will use this highlighter as well as this calculator in case you have any questions or things that we need to clarify, okay? But let's start with the expense report. I'll use this to make it easier for you to see. So, the Golden Apple Company Inc., that's us. This is the player expense report prepared on June 17th, 2026, and by Villager 67. Now, that is my company number. I go by 67, but we have enchanted books. You spend about 12.3% of your emeralds on enchanted books. Then you have gems. You spend about 30% of all your emeralds on gems. Materials is 15. Food is 23.9%. And lastly, rotten flesh. This is the weird one. You spend 17.9% on rotten flesh. This came off a little surprising to my team. We don't really understand why you need rotten flesh, but I'm sure we can kind of discuss that and see what the rotten flesh is actually doing for you financially, right? Now, to give you an example of what we're looking at in terms of what 17% actually is. Now, on a visual, if you had 100 emeralds and we checked that percentage, you're spending almost 18 emeralds on rotten flesh alone on a monthly basis. That is a little concerning for us here. Not necessarily. Well, maybe we're being a little too judgmental. Let's continue with the audit and the discussion, and we can kind of see what's going on. You're right. I don't want to dive too much into your personal expenses in terms of what you choose to do with the things you buy. It's more so what you're buying, and that's what we're here to discuss today. Okay, now we got expenses by village. This is where you're spending most of your emeralds. You have a disproportionate amount on a monthly basis at Herville. Now, the green bar corresponds with the green bubble down here, so you spend on average about 540 emeralds at Herville. Okay, so that's your highest expense. You spend some at Moomil, about 167 at Moomil. At Steve's Retreat, you're spending 102 emeralds, okay? In Endertown, you have 59 emeralds, and somehow, I am not sure how, you've managed to spend 3 emeralds in the Great City. That is a little concerning as well, specifically because we're not sure how you would have been able to make any trades in the Great City, since you're not permitted inside. Regardless, you have spent that there. There is some suspicious activity in this that we may need to flag, and we're telling you this because it requires disclosure, right? You need to know that we are considering sending some of this information to the council. Now, I don't want to anger you, of course. I understand that that could be complicated, and we don't want to get you in any trouble. No, that's not the intention. The intention is that you did sign a contract with our company in terms of the information collected and the use, and there was a clause in there that did say that if things were suspicious, especially in terms of the protection of the Great City, that we had that ability to disclose such information. Unfortunately, there's no way to object that. You'll have to go through a review process afterwards. Anyways, we can maybe discuss that at the end. Is that alright? Yeah, let's continue. Alright, so here's your ROI. This is a big deal, okay? This is a really big deal here. Your ROI is really, really big. ROI stands for your return on investment, and there is something interesting correlating with the rotten flesh here. So, your return on investments by items purchased with a return in your lifetime, and estimations. Now, these aren't exact numbers, but we'll take a look. Starting off with mending books corresponds to your purchase. Just because, I mean, there's no real purpose if it's only 200, but again, it's not a liability. So, if you want to keep buying sticks, go right ahead. I mean, you can pretty much make them yourself. They're pretty easy to do. Sugarcane is your highest performing item. It has brought you back 25,030 emeralds. An absolutely incredible number here. Incredible number. This is definitely a key purchasing. I'm assuming you're going through the process of manufacturing paper and then reselling. Yes, very smart, very, very smart. Lastly, again, we have a bit of a rarity. Rotten flesh. The rotten flesh is seeing a return of 10,320 emeralds over your lifetime. An absolutely incredible number. Again, we're trying not to be curious or concerned about this. We don't really understand why, but it is making you emeralds as well as your spending and your making. So if it's working for you, then we understand, of course. Now let's check your current emerald investments and see how they're performing. This is your Emerald Bank portfolio performance. Now obviously the Emerald Bank is not under the Golden Apple Company. Of course, we work very closely with them. We do think we have better rates here. Alright, like Emerald Bank takes what, like 90% of every transaction. Isn't that incredible? We only take 89, but that's alright. Let's continue. So your Emerald tax-free savings account has seen a 32% return, right? 32% return. So on the year, right? It's a year to date. So on the year, so let's say we don't have the exact number, but I'm pretty sure, an estimation, you had around 2,500 emeralds in that account, and it's returned 32%. So we're looking at perfect. Well, I'll write that number down for you. You're currently sitting at a whopping 3,300. Yeah, 3,300 emeralds in the Emerald tax-free savings. Let's check your crypto emeralds. Now, this was a bit of a risky one. We advised you on that previously to be careful with that, but it seems to have worked out against our advice. But you did do a moderate amount at 1,000 emeralds, and you have a return this year of 87. Okay, so we're looking at 1,870 emeralds here. Right, that's nice. Alright, now if we look at the Great City Market Fund, the GCM market, with a 51% return, and this is your highest to date. You had put in originally 14,657, or that's where you were sitting, with a return of 51%. That's incredible return. Oh my, 7,475. 14. We're looking at a number of 22,000, 2.07 emeralds. Very well done to date. I must be honest. These are great numbers. You are performing in a very positive time. So let's move on to our next discussion, which is your project. These are good expenses, of course. We will give you a copy of this to take home. I'll probably give you this one so you can file it with it. But we're going to move on to our next file here, and that is the assessment of your Enderman farm. Now, this is a big project you're trying to take on. We have to be honest. It's a pretty large project, so we're going to have to come at it a little slowly, okay? Let's get this out of the way, and I'll put this aside for you. Perfect. Okay, so the Enderman farm is a little bit of a complex situation. we can talk about the calculations for that. So firstly, let's run through it. Obsidian, 140 blocks around. It's going to cost 4,200 emeralds. Ender pearls, 64. We're looking at, that's about a stack. 1920 emeralds. Now these are estimates. We have to be clear. These are estimates. They could go up, they could go down. It really depends on the market. Trapdoors, 192. 576 emeralds. You're looking at slabs, 256. I want to highlight this because it's important for you to keep this in mind, okay? We opted for those for a reason. We're looking at 384 for the slabs. Oh, am I correct here? I'm just trying to make sure I'm staying on the right. No, 512 emeralds for the slabs. Carpet is 128. That's 384 emeralds. Redstone components. Obviously, there are options to do them without redstone, but we do recommend doing it with. It's safety purposes. 1,250 emeralds. Water buckets will cost 240 emeralds. You'll need 8. And then lastly, minecart plus the rails, 890 emeralds. The subtotal being for material cost alone, 9,972 emeralds. Now, there are other costs we have to determine, and that's the taxes. Here we have village trade tax at 8%, right? So 798 emeralds of your total. The nether portal usage fee is 150 emeralds, right? That's going to be the cost. And dimension access levy, of course, that's 500 emeralds, totaling up to 1448 emeralds. Permit costs, we have the end dimension build permit, which can take up to, I should have put times for you, but this can take up to, now it's closed on me, there we are. This can take up to 6 months for approval, where the others can only, they'll take about 2. 60 days. Okay. Yeah, so 6 months, and it's going to be 1,200 emeralds. The mob farm license is 800 emeralds. And lastly, your environmental impact filing is going to be 350 emeralds. So the total cost at this time, without any other consideration, is 13,770 emeralds. Now that's well within your finances. We believe that this is something that you're going to be able to pursue. Obviously, we would recommend doing them in the following steps: acquiring your permit, then your materials, and then lastly, the taxes. Obviously, those can be paid last, okay? It's very important that you follow this method, and of course, you will take this home with you. Now, on our last page here, I want to highlight something that could be of importance. I'm just going to move the calculator. Right over here, we have the Great City Council policy. Now, this is important for certain reasons, and we're going to tell you why. There's 2 new sections that have been added to the greater law on, XP farms, as well as builds. But here we have a slab use tax rebate. This is on the Building Act. It says, by order of the Great City Council, all builders who elect to use slabs over full blocks in construction projects shall be entitled to a major rebate, right? Reimbursing 50% of the material cost of the slabs used. So that would mean that the 256 slabs, right, at 512. Alright, so we're looking at 200. I mean, I could have just done that. Apologies, my brain is not always functioning. So it will cost 256 emeralds, removing that cost from your total here with the, we'll right? So 50% of slab material costs, all registered builders within the great city, so you need the permits, and they can be approved 30 days after the purchase, okay? The next section they added, this was to the XP Farms Act, but they're now allowing public licensing. Alright, so that means that XP Farms permit that allows the use of non-farmers such as yourself, so public access, shall be allowed to charge a license cost to users on a biannual basis. That's every 6 months. In recognition of this public service, farm operators with a valid public access license will receive 50% annual rebate on their villager trader tax. So here it's effectively taking it to 4. So instead of an 8% charge, we're looking at a 4% charge if you permit licensing. And of course, that also means that you can charge for licenses. And this would not only be a liability, but also could be an asset itself. Now, we would have to talk about fair market value a separate time for an assessment on that. But yes, you could charge to use your farm. It does, obviously, people love having their private farms, but it could be fair if you're not always going to be there. So a 4%, right? So that would be, instead of 7.98, we can just divide that in 2. We're looking at 3.99. That's a 3.99. That's minus. And that's the tax rebate. Perfect. Overall, that's not a bad idea. So that's what we're looking for cost-wise. We will get those organized for you. Alright, so I'll put those down. Let me get these 2 ready. What is this? Is this yours? Great City Treasury. No, that is not yours. You are not meant to see that. I apologize. That was not meant to be something you were meant to see. I'd ask that you just kind of ignore that. Thank you. And if you could keep that information to yourself, that wasn't. I just made a really big mistake. Either way, we deal with professionality. It just must have been a file that was left behind. Now, we'll get these sorted for you, of course. We'll get your documents organized. So you'll take these with you, and you'll be able to assess your finances with that. Maybe take a couple reviews before making your decision to make the Enderman farm. Of course, we can talk about licensing in another matter. You know, of course, we would have to do an assessment as well. So let us know, but whether before you leave or on the board outside, whether you'd like to see that. Now, there has been some gem valuations changing. I would recommend referencing those materials. A few people have made references to the value and aspect of gems. Of course, better emeralds will go for a higher price nowadays. You're like, well, how does that 1 for 1 emerald? No. 1 emerald that's graded higher will go for 1.5 or 1.6, where an emerald that's graded lower might go for 0.8, right? So please make sure you check that out. It'll be important for us. Can we book you in for another appointment? Yes. Okay, well, you let us know what time. Perfect. Alright. Well, thanks for coming by, and I hope to see this Enderman farm getting up soon. Let's talk licensing. Alright, take it easy. +1, 2, 4. Okay, 4. Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. How are you? Good, good. I understand you're here to go over your new business expenses as well as your income and just overall where the money's kind of going and what's going to cost the most. Yeah, okay, perfect. Well, I also know that you've used our services before, and we've been told to ask our clients if they're feeling like our services are adequate. How are you enjoying our services? Okay. I see. Okay. Well, that's perfect. So we did get your request. We've has done some thorough assessments, and I have also overlooked these documents, and we'll be able to kind of go through them today, do some calculations, get you some numbers, and go through some suspicious activity. We have about 3 files to go through today, so why don't we get to that right now, shall we? Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. I'll just move this off to the side for now. And of course, I'll take these. They're not for crabs, I'm sorry. There we are. Okay, we have our 3 files here. Of course, we have our trusty highlighter, and we'll go through these together. So, the first document is an income division report, and it kind of goes over where all your revenue streams, where your assets are and your liabilities, so where the money is coming from, your emeralds, and where your emeralds are going that is costing you something. So we're first going to go with overall assets, and then we'll go into liabilities, and there is a little bit of a suspicious thing going on here, which we'll need to discuss, okay? Okay, well, let's start with this. Alright. So, first is Farm Technologies Division, right? So you open that business, and you're looking at quarterly, you're making around 26,750 emeralds. Annually, 107,000, which is good. This is really solid. Obviously, that's good. The status is verified. We did our own audit here. You have a security consulting contracts, and quarterly that's 8,150 emeralds, with a 32,600 emeralds coming in. Monster hunting commission, 4,600 emeralds, 18,400 emeralds. Of course, all of these are verified. So while we did recommend one of these, you decided to be ambitious and take on all 3, which I'm not sure if we would have advised, but that's what you did. I am wondering, because we did calculate this, we didn't see much about the GCCSB, so we'll have to talk more about that, okay? Gem processing and sales, that's 3,200 emeralds quarterly and 12,800 emeralds annually. My apologies for the slight interruption. Where were we? Yes. We were talking about lending and credit interest. Quarterly, you have 1,875 emeralds. And annually, you're looking at 7,500 emeralds, which is not bad for the interest gained on credit. I would keep this in mind because this is a very interesting gain on debt, right? Perfect, perfect. Okay, so we are going to get to this. I'm going to skip it for now and come back. You're also getting some insurance premium revenue. Not much. Quarterly, about 950, and annually, you're looking at 3,800, okay? It's also verified. So your total gains annually right now is 227,100 emeralds, okay? So that is not net, okay? You need to remember that this is not net, alright? We'll get to that later, that's down here. But we need to discuss this. The unknown source here. There's been some offshore transfers we've noticed in your account. You're making a significant amount. 11,250 emeralds annually. Or quarterly, I apologize. And 45,000 annually. This is an unverified source. Now, the reason we bring this up is we're not necessarily a regulatory body, right? Our job isn't to ensure that, you're necessarily aligning yourself with the generation of income following the laws of the great city, but we do recommend that you do follow those rules. Now, this might be linked to what we're discussing in the following documents, and we're open to talk about it further, but there is some discrepancies there too, and maybe you can shine some light on it. Yeah? Okay, well, we'll see. Okay. So, now let's get to our liabilities and basis, okay? Quarterly basis. I don't know why I say monthly. I'm so used to the documents being a monthly. So guild dues, right? When you're working with us, and membership fees are looking at 2,400 emeralds. Quarterly, 9,600. All right, anyway, it's a fixed. So a fixed versus a variable rate, very different. Okay, fixed means it won't change. Operating license, all divisions. So it's 1,200 quarterly and 4,800 annually. It's not bad for licenses. Liability insurance premiums, 875 emeralds quarterly, 3,500 emeralds annually. Equipment maintenance and repairs, right? Because they break down. This is a little pricey. 3,100 emeralds, 12,000 and 400 emeralds annually. Staff wages and contractor fees. Obviously, you've been hiring people now. You're expanding, and that's a big deal. But you're looking at 8,500 emeralds quarterly and 3,400 emeralds annually. Facility rent and utilities. Right, this depends on every village. I forgot to mention that the maintenance fees can be variable. We can't determine those on a fair market basis. The facility rent doesn't change. 4,250 emeralds, 17,000 emeralds annually. Tax obligations, again, this is a variable rate, right? It can change depending on the policy implemented by the Great City Commission and the Council. The ERA, the Emerald Revenue Agency. Loan Repayment Expansion Fund, that's 2,500 emeralds quarterly and 10,000 annually. You're looking at total in liabilities at 113,700,000 emeralds. Okay, so to give you a demonstration, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. Your net gain is 113 emeralds and 400. The reason that they're 113,400. The reason that is because you need to take your gains. Then you need to minus your liabilities. So you remove them. And that leaves you with your total net right here. 134,400 net emeralds annually, which is great. That looks great for you, I think, in terms of the people that we oversee. You're one of the more successful entrepreneurs. So, that's perfect. Again, audit flag here. An unverified offshore transfer of 4,500 emeralds annually. That's 19.8% of total income. Has no corresponding contract invoice or client on record. Source traced to an unregistered entity labeled as the Apex 7. Internal review recommended. The reason we're saying that is because this is going to flag. This is going to flag with the Great City Commission and the ERA specifically, right? You need to make sure that this is like being, or this is being kind of like there's information given. They might come and audit for that information. Now, we're not familiar with Apex 7. There's some discussion, I think, later here. But we'll see. We'll talk about your current mining and gem business right now. And then we'll come back to Apex 7. Does that sound good? Yeah? Okay. So, we're looking at the equipment cost breakdown. So this is your different portions of your mining business, right? The one that you have been kind of building for a while. Yes, you started the other three, but you have previously been working very frequently with the Great City and delivering emeralds. I don't know if you've forgotten about that or tried. I mean, guess not. You're asking us for a cost breakdown on a greater scale. So while the other businesses are starting, this one's expanding. So obviously there are two areas that make sense here. The gem polishing machines and the gem generator machines. We don't really know what this is. You included this, and we're not sure why, but we can talk about that. So obviously with the gem polishers, we're looking at some pretty crazy costs overall. So you have the GP 400 standard polisher. You have 4 of those. The unit itself costs you 3,200, and it's 12,000 emeralds total, right? So one, that's this times that costs. Where is my pen? the GP400 standard polisher, the GP400 replacement discs. You have 20 times 20, so 80 quantity, 45 emeralds each, total of 3,600. We'll go through totals. The GP750 precision polisher, 15,000 emeralds total. The calibration module, the GP series, of course you're buying a lot from Gold Productions, 4,080 emeralds. Cooling system upgrade kit. That's a really neat piece that you bought. Premium piece, actually. I can't believe you got the upgrade for that. 4,400 emeralds. I would say maybe an unneeded cost, right? So I'll highlight it just in case. If you ever need to cut something, I would cut down on buying cooling kits for the polishers, okay? Diamond tip finishing heads. 12 of those. Diamond tip, really? So you really are expanding, I'm surprised. But 12, 32, and 3,840. You could always consider if you needed to cut costs. On this one, these two here, I'll highlight these for you. Right, is this necessarily needed? I don't know. And if you wanted, you could go down to iron tips. Okay, those would significantly cause your cost, especially the cooler, but these would bring your costs down a little bit. Alright, next we have the gem generators. So we call these the gem generators, but what they really are is it's just like taking ores and then processing them into processed gems, right? So you have the GG 1200. You have two of those, also from Gold Productions. You're looking at 1200 core generator, three of those at a total of 54,000 emeralds. Another 1200 fuel cells, again 17,100 emeralds. Your crystallization chamber is 12,600. Your harmonic stabilizer array, 8,400 emeralds. The output regulator valve is 8,100 emeralds. Your emergency shutdown module, you need to have this as by regulation, 48,000 emeralds. Thermal exhaust vent system is 6,300 emeralds, making the total for the gem generator cost 111,300 emeralds. I apologize, I forgot to mention that your total for gem polishers is 43,720. Obviously, no surprise, the generator is costing more than the polishers. That would make sense. You could honestly run the business on just generators and outsource the polishing, but because you're doing it in-house, you're definitely making a much higher revenue than those who aren't doing the polishing. Now, let's talk about this here. This doesn't really make much sense to us. We're not familiar with dupe machines. DMX9 replicate. Like, we took your information and we definitely sorted it out with totals. It's costing a significant amount. But regardless, we can look at it. DMX9 replication engine is costing 49,000. Matter input hopper, large, 13,600. Molecular scan array, 13,500E. Fidelity correction lens, 8,800. Anti-degradation shield, 8,200. Operator console and software, 7,600. A total of 100,700 emeralds. Now, you did have some notes for each of these, right? Mainly, there's nothing that's popping out here other than, like, again, grade A finish for the polisher. And here, 6 months supply. Like, all of these are good. There isn't anything to worry about here. Now, here, though, restricted class bulk feed pattern log, 99.7% accuracy. Why is there an accuracy note? What does the dupe machines do? You want me to stop asking questions? You don't? Okay, yeah, I understand. You don't pay us to do any investigation like that. I apologize. I hope that you can forgive me for that. Why don't we take a break, cool down a little bit? No, okay, well, finish this document. Okay, well, let's finish the document first. Your grand total capital expenditure is 2,500. It's like give it a shot. That's really good. It's kind of like, you ever seen The Perfect Krabby Patty? It's kind of like that. Just absolutely marvelous. Okay, well, I'm gonna put this away because we do have a job to do. I'm really glad we had that time for lunch. Let's discuss the problem we have here. Now, if we look at these documents here, your net position is 113. Okay? Now this is your personal income. Now, we didn't calculate the income for the gem polishing business by itself. We got some of them, but not all of them. We got your individual processing, but we didn't do the whole scale for your business. The problem with that is that this is also a liability. So unless you increase your funds, you are significantly going to be in debt, right? Because it looks like if you're using your personal income, you're going to be 142,320 emeralds in debt. So that's not a good idea. With that being said, there is a way for you to cut your costs on the polishing, at least, and maybe some of the generation. Our third document here is supplied by us, by the Golden Apple Company, Inc., and, well, the Golden Emerald Guild, the Golden Apple, Inc., Incorporated, as well as Golden Pickaxe Limited. Okay? Now, obviously, full disclosure, these are two subsidiaries of the same parent company. We kind of went over that. But the Golden Pickaxe Limited does offer some of these services for outsourcing. For example, these on this side would be your price without using Golden Pickaxe Limited versus the price it would cost for Golden Pickaxe to do these things. Gem polishing standard costs you 500 emeralds per. Well, for here, it's 180. Gem polishing precision, 1200 for you, 420 for us. Gem generation basic, 3500, 1800 for us. Gem generation premium, 8000 and 3200 for us. Grading service, this is another factor that you have not considered because you don't have any grading. You have to outsource it regardless. We will do this within our process. 2000 emeralds for you, 950 for us. Tier 2 grading, more precise grading, 5,500 emeralds for you, 2,400 for us. A bulk grading is 12,000 for you, but only 5,100 for us. Security consulting, right in the mines, 4,000 emeralds for you, 1,600 for us. Equipment leasing, 1,500 emeralds a month versus for us at 600 emeralds a month. You can trade through Golden Pickaxe Limited. Then a monster threat assessment, always useful, 800 emeralds for you, 350 for us. No, I'm not doing this to kind of try to show off or get you more upset, but there's a margin here. And with us, you can see the margin rates between each one, right? Obviously some basic inclusions here, like per batch, per cycle, single item, complex items, and then 10 plus, like where exactly it works, like a bulk is a 10 plus gems. But that need to be considered. But obviously, we can estimate a projected annual revenue of 384,000 emeralds from that alone using our services. And we think that that's probably the best way to approach it. It has a 58% obviously we do have our little client card here, and you can take this home to consider it. But golden pickaxe, precision, perfection, excellence, from raw stone to flawless gem, we polish, elevate, and produce with unmatched accuracy, trusted by guilds across the realm. Gem polishing for 500 emeralds, generation cycles for 3,500 emeralds, and grading from 2,000 emeralds, right? There are a little couple footnotes here, like obviously it's estimates, you gotta remember that, and we can't really guarantee any actual income, okay? This is what we range, depending on the fair market value today. Yeah, okay, so you'd like to take these documents home, this document, all of them, all documents home, okay, and make some consideration. Well, that's fair. Why don't I put these away for you? Into there for you. And I'll hand that to you. Perfect, perfect. Well, we're really glad that you choose the Golden Apple Company to do your business and to get your finances reviewed. We do hope you come back again soon. Thank you, thank you. Alright, I do apologize for asking all those questions. It is not our place, you are correct. Alright. Have a good one. Bye. Divided by 3,002, 506, 302 divided by 3250 equals 138.5. Oh, you've made it. Hello, hello. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. Yes, yes. I hear you're looking to open a new business. Absolutely. Well, we've organized the documents for you and we can kind of go over them. Yeah. Well, you know me. Villager 67 is always ready to do my due diligence to make sure that you're successful, right? Well, how many other businesses do you have? Oh, okay. Well, that makes a lot more sense. So now we're trying to get another one going to increase the emerald income, eh? Very smart. Well, I've actually been operating quite a bit in this current field, and I have some expertise after the last 2 years of doing it. So I've organized some documents, about 4 documents, to kind of go over with you, and I'll showcase some of the most important information and the ideas that you provided. We can look at the financials for it, as well as the most profitable endeavors, okay? Yeah, should we get into it? Yeah, I'm always glad to hear when you're around. You're always such a good client to work with. Move this out of the way. Let's open this up. Which document should we start with here? Yeah. That's the corporate structure. It'll probably be best to start with this one. Let's close this up for now. So, let's take a look at what we're working with here, and again, I will highlight for you those portions of important information, alright? Okay, so this is your current income overview. It's what you've been making, or at least storing with us over the last several months and into the last year. This is where all your disposable emeralds are going at the moment. And this is where they're allocated, okay? So the key metric here is your monthly net is 4,200 emeralds. That's decent. It's not very high. We kind of want to increase that, and that's why I'm assuming that you're looking to open some new ventures with us, or to kind of assess it, not with us. Of course, there are options for that. Don't get me wrong, there are. But this is currently what we're looking at. Okay. So your annual So maybe if we can reduce those prices, we can have some more for the business venture we're trying to get into. We have food and provisions taking up about 650 emeralds. Equipment and gear very similarly at 500 emeralds. And then transport, mount fees, boat fees, whatever else. But that's usually being charged with a great city. Unfortunately, this isn't a number you can escape. It's going to be there. You're going to have to pay this, especially if you use these transportation methods. Licensing fees are expensive, I understand, but unfortunately that's just where we're at right now. Okay? Just taking a sip of my cup of joe. Alright, guild dues and taxes, so that's obviously service fees for what we are providing you, this type of service. Taxes, now that's charged by the great city. These are something that we could discuss. The problem is they're kind of varying, and we would have to bring in an expert on emerald tax to ensure that we can create some proper ways for you to save on your tax output. But unfortunately, at the moment, it seems like from our assessments, you're paying your dues on that, and it's just there's not much you can change. Now, once you start the venture, we can talk about different avenues you may take. Alright, savings and investments. So you're roughly saving about 600 emeralds every month. That's great. That's almost on par and in between your costs for food and equipment. So you're building yourself quite a good emergency fund here, right? And that's a very solid approach to saving emeralds that we agree with. Discretionally, you're spending quite a bit. I would like to see this number reduce. 500 emeralds on discretionary spends and leisure. So, like, I don't know if you're buying things for hobbies or so on. You could probably bring this down. I mean, you're spending more on this than you are on your transportation fees and your taxes. I mean, individually, of course, together, no. But I think that if you brought this number down, we could see more of an investment allocation into your new business venture that we're talking about, okay? And we'll get to those ideas in a little bit. Alright, so some key insights. 71% of income goes to fixed costs, right? It's housing, food, transport, guild dues. That food also, I forgot to mention, but food does also allocate things like compost and farming. So if you're growing your own, we put that in there. Only 14% is actively saved. That's what we're saying. If we can get the discretionary number to be more in the savings, we can see an increase in that. Equipment spending could be redirected into business venture for higher long-term returns. Now, this was my colleague. My colleague mentioned this. I'm not a huge fan of it because specifically I think that some of your business ventures require good equipment. I think it's better if you bring down discretionary, but my colleague thinks that you could also reduce on your equipment spending and build or craft the equipment yourself. But I definitely believe that you have a better shot at lowering your discretionary for the business venture. Okay? A good overview for you is this last graph bar we have down here. Just going over gear and leisure, guild transport savings, reinvestable, how those percentages are allocated. And you can kind of go through these and decide where you would like to increase them. We can do another monthly assessment next month and kind of go over it if you'd like. Yeah. Okay. I'll just highlight that for you and tell you that this That's insane. Now, this number is after 5 years of being in the industry. It's not right away, but within 5 years, you could be looking at a total of 68,800. Nice. Not bad at all. 4. Security consultant, right? This is the Village Defense and Safety Act from 2021. Again, same concept. There are licensing fees and regulations you fall under. In this one specifically, you fall under the National Security Board of the Great City. So the GCCSB, Great City Council Security Board. They often take a look. Now, they have different names, obviously, but they take a look at how security consultants are operating and what are your suggestions. If you're providing proper suggestions, you are regularly, okay, you have to remember this, regularly audited for information, okay, and that's success rates. There are fines if your security consultant leads to worsening security, okay? You need to make sure your consulting is proper. Now, I don't have a doubt. It seems to me that you're pretty familiar with mobs and monster hunting in general, since you've suggested another one here. The annual return on this one is a lot higher, okay? 32,000. So if we add that up with our 5,400 plus our 32,600, a phenomenal amount. In 5 years, you could be looking at 83,000 emeralds annually. Isn't that crazy? That's insane. Well done. Now we're going to get on to the last one, which we believe is probably the best approach here. And that's farm technologies, okay? For farm technologies, you fall under the Agricultural Innovative Act. Now, there is a GCC farming board as well. They aren't as crazy as the GCCSB. They actually provide incentives to get into this industry, okay? So there's a desire to have this. This industry includes things, like I said, irrigation, so water design, water production. It also takes in farm design, the best way to farm on a greater scale. There's also additionally compost methods, green energies, and lastly, redstone to automate the farming, which is a huge thing right now because automation in the farming industry is going to be massive. So we need to make sure that we get some automation with redstone going for pistons and so on. I will say costs for materials can be a little bit higher, but we estimate with your disposable income right now, you could likely build this business. The annual return on this business alone in 5 years is 107, right? 107,000 emeralds annually. We do that plus your 5,400 annually. You're looking at a whopping 157,000 emeralds annually. That in 5 years. That's crazy. So I think that this is probably your best approach, but we can kind of go for a little bit more. So down here, we've got the comparative analysis. Again, this is mainly for you. It's kind of what we just discussed up here. A little bit more like, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't seem to remember, but it's concise. There you go. It's concise for you. So, gives you the return here, which is your big numbers, and then your specific acts. Okay, so you need to make sure you look at those. Farm technology yields the highest projected return. Okay, we highlighted that because we also kind of want you going into that. is the expenses and the recommended corporate structure for each one of those industries. So if you decide to do one of those, the corporate structure, right, this here is going to tell you the best approach and what's available. So when you're doing a monster under business, the best option is a sole ownership, where it has low overhead. It's single operated yourself. The personal liability, it's acceptable for contract work. Like, you're taking on different contracts from villages. In this case, there's not much liability with monster hunting other than the regulation and licensing fees. So it makes sense to take on the sole ownership because the liability protections aren't really there. But you can easily, right? Easily take this, go to a place like Herville, and offer up your services for contracts that are available, such as taking out a mob, a spawner nearby, or, kind of just eliminating a raid or being available for a raid, stuff like that. I will say there is kind of laterability in business. You could end up getting into the XP farming business. I know we previously discussed an Enderman XP farm that you've been kind of allocating costs to build, but we can talk more about that separately another time. I'm surprised you want to do another business, even though you're doing that. So yeah, sole ownership for that one. Security consultant. Now, like I said, this one has some crazy fees. We need to be careful. So, our best way is to make a company, right? This company would protect you from liability. It allows for multiple village contracts, liability protection, and like I said, scalability. It allows you to get bigger and bigger. You can hire more experts, other adventurers, for example, maybe other villagers who have resources and so on in this field, and you can provide consulting at a greater scale. But again, you do fall under the GCCSB, which I would recommend you make sure you know enough about them before you do anything, okay? Company. Farm Technologies. We also recommend a company for this one. It allows for high capital investment, right? Investor-ready structures. Redstone design RD, right? Lots of RD, and it gets you that RD protection needed with a company. Like, at least that way you can protect your redstone designs and license them out to other people. The thing with Farm Technologies is it really allows you to develop a relationship with the agriculture industry as well as the redstone industry. It's like bringing two niches together, right? And that is a needed area. It's like a gap that's currently being filled. So if you're interested, I would say Farm Technologies company. Liability protection's there, the investment possibilities are there, scalability is there, and at the rate that you likely grow, this is probably the best approach. Now, obviously, these are recommendations. You would need to talk to Armor Village legal experts, probably the legal experts at the GCC for sure, to get more of an advice. We can't provide any, villager legal advice, so you need to go talk to them or talk to our other department with the Golden Apple Company, okay, or our parent company, which we'll talk about after. So, business registration. Here's your fees for almost all of them, okay? There is one thing in here that I'm going to tell average on in a year. That, it completely decreases your annual return. Obviously, your annual return could come back. We assumed that you would be doing 10 to 5 projects on a yearly basis, so you have quite a crazy number here. So, the total, right, if you're a sole owner, is only $475, whereas if you're a company, it's 1,125 emeralds. Okay, these are your fees, usually on an annual basis. Obviously, this is pending project number, which is important. We've also outlined the registration process below, right? Step 1 is submit name reservation to the Great City Commerce Office. 2 is file the business structure declaration, whether you're a sole ownership or a company documents. Obtain operating license under the relevant act. Then register for tax identification with the Emerald Revenue Authority, the ERA. Secure liability insurance, mandatory for companies, right? You have to do this again. It's mandatory. Don't forget that. Open business vault account with a recognized bank. The Golden Apple Company offers several options, so we do have those. We can discuss that at a different point, though, okay? But yeah, with these costs on an annual basis, right? If you're opening a company in farm technologies and you're looking at 157, like annually you're only coming down to 155. Like that's still great, and that's only with 5 projects, which we assume you'd be doing within 5 years. It's a possibility that in 10 you could be doing exponentially more, and the numbers would increase even higher, right? Now, the reason we've recommended a company is it allows a corporate structure. Obviously, you're not opening a guild parent company, but a company also still allows for subsidiary departments, right? And to demonstrate that, we've decided to use our own corporate structure to kind of give you an idea. So this is how we work. So here we are, the Golden Apple Company. Obviously, we do wealth advisory, we work in finance industry, we do lending and credit, insurance. This also comes with banking. I don't know why that's not listed, but mistakes. Golden Apple Company, obviously it falls under the Golden Emerald Guild. Okay, now a parent guild is a very rare occurrence. This is the biggest guild in our world here. We have the most influence over trade and commerce, oversees different industries that are currently really doing good out here, and we often work out there. Obviously, becoming a guild member is a difficult process. Guild members are premium. They have better service fees, and they just get better resources through us. This is our parent guild. It oversees subsidiary companies, which is the Golden Apple Company. In your case, you'd want to open a company, and it would build up, and it would allow for subsidiary departments such as these, okay? Under the Golden Emerald Guild, there are several other subsidiary companies. That's Golden Harvest Co., which works in farming. Golden Pickaxe Limited works in mining. Golden Circuit Corp works in redstone. This is RD. Golden Quill Agency, and this works in policy. Now, each one of these has subsidiary departments, which you would be able to do, right? Golden Harvest Co., for example, has crop sciences, livestock management, irrigation technology. Golden Pickaxe Limited has ore extraction, gem processing, and deep tunneling. Golden Circuit Corp has automation, signal design, and power systems. And Golden Quill Agency has policy advice, compliance, and public affairs. These are just some of the examples. If you were to, for example, go into farm technologies, you could be looking at departments that come from these 2 subsidiary systems, right? Which is super, super relevant right now. There is a lot of possibilities with the company structure. send us a message, or the next time you